Hi everyone, welcome to today's series. Another session in the Data Careers Demystified series that we're running as part of the Unlocking Data Careers program. This one is on the foundation that no one talks about, data management and why it matters. So before we get started today, I'll just remind everyone that Unlocking Data Careers is an Alberta workforce development program that is operated by the PPDM Association with the support from the government of Alberta through a grant. So we're endlessly happy for their support of our program delivery so that we can upskill and reskill Albertans within the data field. And so thank you all for signing up and learning more about it. If you haven't already, the registration for our 5-day course or 30-hour online course is available. I'll be sending it out at the end of the session to everyone who's attended, but you should already have the email inviting you to apply to attend. So with that, I can get started. So our first speaker today is Nataly. She has spent her entire career deep in the oil and gas data management. She started on well and production site data and spent the last 12 years at CNOOC International managing master databases with millions of records. And today she's a business analyst with S&P Global doing the same kind of work following S&P's acquisition of IHS. Her career has stayed remarkably consistent even through the many name changes and acquisitions in her career. And so she's going to walk us through what the work actually looks like day to day. So please, everyone, welcome Nataly, who has disappeared from my screen, so I can't spotlight her. There she is. Hi, Nataly.
Hi.
I was just going to say, Nataly, do you want to just walk us through your career? Did you started kind of on the operator side, and now you're with S&P Global. Did you set out to build a career in data, or does it happen through work itself?
Actually, both. So I have technical training in IT, basically development. And when I graduated, I accidentally got into oil and gas. I started to just correct some reports for gas well testing company. And while doing that, I basically didn't know what I'm looking at because it was all in jargon, right? BOOH. It's like out of hope. I didn't know any of that. That was challenging. So I decided to start taking courses to educate myself. And I took production accounting. I took geological petroleum certificates, and I started expanding my knowledge, but I always was passionate about working with data, and I wanted to work with databases. So then I started looking for another job, and I found a job in an IT company who actually was developing software to QC data. It was called Intermediate Data Solutions back then. And so this is where I got tons of experience because I've been working with databases, I've been profiling clients' data, and I've been looking for some inconsistencies or data errors in the wells and production data sets. And I learned a lot while doing that. And then I moved to CNOOC. That's been pretty much all my life, management.
Yeah, your time at CNOOC seems really dynamic, especially when you're managing data sets that were that big. So sounds like
yes. Well, it's the same. It's the same now. So the irony is, while at CNOOC, I've been using IHS data. Right?
Yeah.
So it's the same data that I worked at CNOOC with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And so it's all the same. Yeah. So our next speaker is Larisa. Hi, Larisa. Larisa's path through data wasn't a straight line. She started in chemistry and lab work and moved into frac operations in the field. And from there, she made her way into data and analytic leadership. Today, she's a certified data management professional and a team lead in business and data analytics at STEP Energy Services, where she now is responsible for a lot of hiring in the data field. So yeah, please everyone welcome Larisa. And so Larisa, what are you went through this path from chemistry, lab work, frac operations, and then landing in data and analytics leadership. When did you realize that data was the actual problem that everyone needed to solve?
I think for me it was a little bit different. I started with I wanted to improve the processes that we're working with.
Yeah.
Our processes were very, very time-consuming and useless, in my opinion. So I thought you could make it better. So that's what I started with. I started to improve the process to make it more efficient, make it faster. And when that happened, I went from chemistry, have a degree in chemistry, to the frac operation, to working with business solution teams within STEP. When I joined the STEP, when I actually get a hold on the data, that when my mind just blew up. Oh my God, you can do so much. You can pull so much more information. You can do so much more with the data you have at hand. But it's sure people who work with data agree with me. It's one thing to have data. It's another thing to have a good data. It's two different things. And for me, that was process to get there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean when you feel when you want to streamline operations and get everything to move faster and create and collect better data. I find that even for myself, more of an operations person, I'm definitely finding that's my big passion. So, so Nataly, a good chunk of people in the audience kind of work with outputs or Excels, CSV files, etc., without really calling it data management. In plain terms, what do you see as data management, and why does the title matter either way?
I don't think title matters at all, because let's say if we look at the title data analyst, right? You can see it everywhere, but depending on what department you are, it means completely different things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you are an IT professional and you are data analyst, that could mean that you are just moving data from point A to point B and making sure like number of rows matches between two systems. You can produce dashboards. But if you are, let's say, geologists and you are data analyst, like your job will look completely different, right? You will be loading data into software to support geologists. You will be verifying data, making sure, let's say, KB is within a certain range. It like title does not matter. What matters is actually what you are doing.
Yeah. So can you give us like a concrete example from your oil and gas data management work, managing millions of records, and what fixing that actually looks like day to day? Like, how do you go about doing a fix for data management?
You can use, like you mentioned, CSV and Excel. Excel is still the number one data management tool, unfortunately, right? It can do a lot of things. And yes, you're right, like technologists, geologists, data engineers, they will manage their data in Excel. Unfortunately, it's not very shareable and usable. So when you are dealing with tons of data, you have to dig into the database, right? You have to make sure there are a lot of processes that you need to follow and everyone else. So again, the data management looks very different on where you are, right? If you are a geologist and you're managing your small area, you're fine using Excel if you have 100 files to look at, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking at million and million of rows, that's like Excel cannot do it for you. You have to use more sophisticated tools.
Yeah. I've never maxed out an Excel sheet myself, and I hope to never see that day.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a really big daunting task to try and freeze an Excel computation. That's crazy. So Larisa, as a team lead, what do you actually look for when you're hiring into a data or an analytics role? And does someone's operational or field background factor into that decision?
So I answer two ways. So when I got hired, I actually got hired. That was my first job in IT. So my first job in this space. When I was hired, all I had behind me was 5 months of the career program from the government back in 2020. Huge desire to study, because I think I touched every single coding language I could possibly find on Udemy for $10. And as you guys know, IT team, coding team, data team is such a broad subject. You can go ABC, like you can pick a direction, and by that time I had no idea where I want to go. All I knew is I wanted to code, I want to work with data, and I want to make stuff better. So when I got hired, when I ended up asking my manager why he hired me, he told me, because of your operational background. By that time, I was already 14 years in oil and gas. And when they hired me in the position they did as a business solution analyst, they're like, okay, so we don't have to explain to you screen out, prop and sand, coil. Like we don't need to explain to you that the back end experience because you already have that covered. Now we just need to concentrate on what your job is. And I do have to say, for me to fit into this field was relatively easy because I didn't have to ask questions about what is nitrogen, what is frac, what is rate, all the operational questions they already knew. From my perspective now as a team lead, it's a little bit different approach right now, is because I'm hiring on more junior positions than not. And when I hire a junior position, I'm looking for technical skills. I'm looking for understanding of languages. So I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I was trying to hire somebody, and I couldn't. The person who I was interviewing, he couldn't answer me question, what is Power BI DAX language? What is transformation?
Mm-hmm.
What is a view, like filtering, like very basic, in my opinion, question that anyone who even played with Power BI should have an idea. So for me, that was a no-no. Like because I'm hiring for junior positions, I understand that there's a lot of growth. I have to guide people, but I have to have a base to work with. I don't have time to teach someone SQL. I don't have time to teach someone Python.
Yep.
Because I'm expecting to have a base, and then you can grow on that. I'm not expecting anyone to have A+ in Python or A+ in SQL and be able to learn to write everything. That's not my expectation. My expectation to have a good solid foundation that you can grow on either yourself, I can show you, but have that desire to learn and to keep growing. That's
definitely
my answer.
Yeah, definitely the desire to learn and forever learning is definitely really important when it comes to data because everything's always changing.
Yes.
But that's good that you mentioned SQL and Python and Power BI. So those are all things that a previous presenter talked about earlier on in the series. And so there's some resources out there that I can share with everyone again on where you can find free courses on that. And then Power BI is also another one that you can most likely find free courses available from Microsoft or even on YouTube, which is like really, really good to have a base level understanding. I mean, for myself, I can read HTML, but I can't type it. But I can understand it, which is important.
That's true.
So outside of like the technical skills, like you've already mentioned, what kind of other skills outside of data do you think translate better than people expected?
In my opinion, would be work ethic. I know it's a very broad terminology, but honestly, and as you just mentioned that if you guys enter this field, if you want to get into this field, you have to understand that you would have to learn every day. Like my daughter is asking me, Mom, why do you learn? You already have a job. Why do you study something? You already have a job. I just finished my CDMP certification like last months.
Yeah.
And that's because you have to constantly stay on top of this, because what you learn today is going to be relevant in 2-3 years, and you have to have that desire to do so. And your employer doesn't necessarily going to do that for you. Like if you are very good in Python or good in SQL, you can be DBA for the rest of your life if that's what you choose to do. But in order to progress, I think the desire to learn, I think, will take anyone far. I don't know. That's I want to give time to Nataly to answer that question.
Yeah, Nataly, I was gonna off the cuff, what's kind of skills and what kind of learning do you think are really important for you that you've had to pick up along the way that keep you up to date?
I agree. Attitude is the basic thing that you need to have. You want to have this curiosity to learn, And for specifically data management, I think very important mindset is to be able to solve puzzles, right? Because data management, it's all about puzzles. You have to put them all together to make it work. And data management in oil and gas specifically, it's, I think anywhere actually, it's, you have to combine two different industries basically here. You do have to have some IT skills, but you also have to have business knowledge. Yes, people come with one or another. It's very rare to find people that have both right away, right? So you have to be willing to learn that. That's very important.
Yeah, it's not just about how to do a SQL prompt and then understand it. It's like you also have to understand what the impact
have to know like what you're looking at, right? That's what I mentioned before when I was correcting this testing report. Like I had no idea what I'm looking at. Like I had no idea what they're even talking about.
Yeah.
That's why I had to learn it. So you have to be willing to learn.
Yeah, I think lifelong learning is definitely important when it comes to data. And so given your long tenure, Nataly, what have you seen? What has like changed in oil and gas management over time? Like what does data say? Like what is the constant that you've noticed? But then what has been the big changes over your career?
Well, the data management itself as a discipline, what it looks at is still the same. You still want to look at data completeness, accuracy. You need to make sure all integral parts are related to each other properly. It's still the same. What has changed though is technologies, right? So if let's say 20 years ago, you kept your data in Oracle database, let's say, and you had to be pretty technical, like IT technical, to know how to connect to the database, how to extract data. And very often we didn't even have like an interface, right? Like we use SQL Plus, where it's command line from, and the data that you get back, it's like it looks really messy because all these lines are wrapping and folding into the next line. It's like it was really bad. And right now we can use tools like, let's say, Snowflake, right? You still can have data sitting somewhere in Oracle, but now Snowflake will connect to it. You have very nice interface. You have AI tools sitting right there that can guide you through the interface. You can even ask AI to write a query for you if you don't know how, but you have to be nice to AI, right? You have to know how to ask the correct question. Otherwise, you can end up with pretty bad answers there. But like it's really helpful. It changed a lot. Like it takes data managers less time to go through technical hiccups to figure out things, right?
So given that you have more time now, what would you say? How would you say data managers are filling those extra times? Are you completing more work, or are you doing a different type of work? Or are you changing the storytelling aspect of the data?
No, it's the same. It's the same because with AI, it's helpful, but you have to vet it a lot, right? You cannot trust all these answers. You still have to go through it and verify. So for me, it's still the same. It's like about 95% of my time, say 90 to 95. I spent like figuring out, finding the problems, and fixing them.
Yeah.
And the rest, 5% will go to consulting. The consulting internal users, because we have IT coming in and out to do projects, right? And of course, being data vendor right now, I spend time consulting operators.
Yeah, definitely. So it's even though AI has come in, you're still having to do the same amount of work because you have to vet it and you have to make sure that it's correct.
It's changed. It's changed in a way how to access data, right? It's easier to access data. It's easier to report on it.
Yeah.
But the core is still the same. You spend a lot of value like digging into the data.
Yeah. And so, Larisa, as a team lead, how are you seeing the impacts of AI on your team? Like, are you having to be more stringent on the outputs that they're providing you to make sure that it's correct?
So there's few I can answer two different ways. So first
Perfect.
way is because I code, because we do what Nataly mentioned, like you have to verify and you have to go and code. Like we do that, like we do it every day. And because I code a lot, I use AI just for my everyday work. Helped me drastically. I don't no longer search for missing comma. I can give it to the Claude, and Claude finds the missing comma for me. Saves me hours.
Yeah.
Anyone who code had this problem before.
Yeah.
So this is one way I personally use AI. The second way is actually, for my perspective, is I would love to bring more AI into my organization, but that comes with changing of people perception of what AI is and what AI can and cannot do. And I agree with Nataly because it's easy access. But sometimes we're in the line where, yes, we can have AI. AI can give us everything, but actually I can read only the data that I provide you. So I still need to know the data in order to give you some sort of genie, some sort of AI agent to work with. So it's so from my perspective right now, I would love to be able to provide more AI options for the users because I feel there is definitely potential where we can make a business better and more efficient.
Yeah.
But I need to prove that concept, and I need to get the buy-in from organization that they're willing to do so. And it's not just as simple as here's download Excel file and go for it. I'm talking about like database data, the real organized, clean data that I would like people to use. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah,
Here
definitely.
you go.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think clean data is probably the hardest part about all of this. You want to make sure that the data you're inputting to the AI system is as clean as possible so that the
100%.
outputs will be the same.
Yes.
And then you also want to make sure that you're prompting it correctly so that it reads all the data and not just the first few lines and then comes up with a hypothesis.
Yes.
Yeah. So Nataly, for someone kind of starting out in their career right now or looking to pivot into a data career, what would you say makes a data professional resilient when it comes to tools and team sizes that are shifting due to the adoption of AI?
Well, I'm not sure. AI is new for everyone, right? Like every organization is now pushing for it. Everyone is learning, and we are all in the same boat right now. There are specific tools, as I mentioned, that look specifically at databases like, I think it's Cortex for Snowflake, right? The tools that are integrated, AI tools that are integrated within a bigger tool, it's easier, but like we all need to learn AI right now. And yes, it will be easier in one way, but I think it also makes it harder.
Yeah, definitely. We had a great question come through from Jude. Can you list some of the qualities of data that are critical and will always stay? So at a time when data has evolved and new software and cloud technologies are developed, what are the basics of data still exist? Can you list some of those qualities of data that are critical and that will always stay? Well, I guess what has been the constant that both of you have seen in your career for what has always stayed?
You have to be problem solver to begin with, right? You have to love solving problems. This will take you, like that's the first step into data management, I think, personally. Is you have to have this passion to find them.
If I answer this question because I see I might be wrong, example STC, TL validation process count. Judy, I would go with what the CDMP book says. There is a very big healthy book. Warehouse going to be here. The ETL, ELT, like all of those basic like CI/CD will stay. That basic will be there. It's just how you're gonna go about it is a little bit different technology, but that will stay for sure. But yeah, if you're interested, get the book, very big one, very interesting to read.
What was
hold
that
on a
book called
second.
again?
I'll tell you. I'll show you. Hold on. Haha.
Oh, the
Dama
Dama
Dim
DM
Bog
book.
Dima. Yes, Trudy
Yeah.
knows.
There's
But
like,
this is a
yeah.
basic. Yes.
So that's just the entry level book. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's only
So
like
yeah,
500 pages, so it's not
I
bad.
definitely, I would definitely say that a through line that I've noticed throughout all these web series is that, there's always a drill down that everyone says you have to be a problem solver, you have to be curious,
Yes.
you have to want to understand, and you have to, spot the patterns and then figure out how to solve for them. And if you don't know, ask, and have that willingness to go out and build relationships with the other people, the people who are using the data and the people who are giving you the data, I think is also another big one. So
Yeah, we need to understand the description between a data, business data, data owner, data analyst. Like it's a different. We have different scope of work, and we
yeah,
need to not mix it together. But yes,
yeah.
sorry, Blaine.
The data manager kind of sits in the middle of all that.
Correct.
Yeah. We are just speeding through the questions today, so I hope that the audience will have more for us. Yeah, we'll give them some time to input some questions. So Nataly, when you were preparing for this session today, what were kind of the bigger things that jumped out at you that you'd want to talk to the audience about when you were thinking about your journey and your career, especially for someone starting out?
I don't know. Just again, be curious about what the discipline is.
Yeah.
As Larisa mentioned, learn the basic technical skills, even how to use Excel, because Power BI is actually Excel on steroids, right? It's the same tool, but more enhanced.
Mm-hmm.
So if you learn at least Power BI, and there are tons of free resources. By the way, Calgary Public Library has a lot of free courses that you can look at, including, I think, Microsoft has tons of free courses on their site. Snowflake has tons of courses. So you can start looking around and looking at what people are taking, what is free there. It's like, because if you have time and you learn something, even if you don't use it right now, it might be useful, or at least you can talk about it at your interview, right?
Yeah.
Which is a huge plus.
Yeah. Yeah, Larisa,
So
you've already
start
mentioned. Yeah. Larisa, you already mentioned that, when you asked someone a Power BI question and they weren't able to answer it, that was a standout moment in the interview for you.
Correct.
So,
I want to add something to this question is when I started out, because I was switching my career completely, like I switched completely, I went to a different segment. So at that time, one of the person who actually worked with me to help me find a job, she actually gave me an advice. She said to me, and you're not going to like what I say, but she said to me anyway, she said, go to LinkedIn and start writing posts. And I hated it. Like, I'm introvert through and through. I don't like talking to people too much. I like people, just the right amount. So my first reaction was, oh my God, I don't know enough. That's my first reaction. I don't know enough. And I am guaranteed that probably 90% of people here will think the same way, because there's always somebody better. And there is no question about this.
yeah.
So, but by that time, I was almost desperate. Even though I had a contractor work, I was desperate to get into the IT business, IT world, because I knew that's what I want to do. So my first article, if you guys go on my LinkedIn profile, scroll to 2021, 2020, my first article, I actually went back into my notes from before, and because I did all like little coding throughout my work, like VBA coding. So I found one, and it was VBA, Excel VBA, whoever works with it knows that. So my project at that time was I took PDF file, we have Excel file, you click a button that it goes, grabs this PDF, extracts the information and puts it in a special, in a sheet. Loved it. I actually wrote an article about it. And I immediately got a lot of traction to my page. So I decided, okay, if that works, let's see what else can I do. So I actually went back to my Udemy course, my Coursera course. I found all those little projects that I did, which right now looking back, child play. But by that time it was, this is all I know. I'm very good with VBA. I can't sell myself as Python coder because I don't have Python project. So one day I was sitting down, I spent 4 hours, I wrote 5 articles, small little articles with some code here, code there, and I scheduled them to go every 2 weeks on the same day. So what happened in those 5 weeks is I got a message from the person I haven't met, and she messaged me say, hey, I think this job would be a good fit for your skills. I think you should apply. And I was like, I go in and it's like Power Apps, Power BI, and I was like, oh, sure, like seems like a good fit, but what do I know? But then second part comes in. I went back to her and I said, who's hiring manager? And she's like, well, it's my boyfriend. I was like, well, give me his email address. So she gave me his email address. Then I went to another person to find from the other side. I went because I used to work with them. I found another contact from the same company and I found his contact. And I said, hey, remember me? We used to work together. How about you say a good word for me to that hiring person whom I'm going to send email right now? Long story short, that's how I got the job. But what I'm trying to say to people is LinkedIn is a very useful tool if you use it, but you can't use it just because you lost a job today and you're going to start posting every day, which you probably still could. With LinkedIn, it's more like you have to just live with it. You have to make sure people know you, professional, update your status, update your credentials, because that's how headhunters coming. They come in, they're looking for that. They're looking for the words, they're looking for the profiles. And if there is nothing in your profiles, then they cannot find you. That's my spill.
Yeah. I think too, it's always really important that if you're out there hiring and if you're out there wanting to get a job and you're applying, even if you're not using LinkedIn as your primary application portal, it's still good to have a profile that is open and searchable and is robust and meets the skills that you're putting out on your resume.
100%.
Because then, someone's going to try and find you and be like, what is this person? But they're going to have that curiosity to ask who this person is. So. Nataly, do you have any similar words of wisdom to our cohort that's joined us here today?
Well, I never wrote any articles on LinkedIn. I'm an introvert too. I don't do it, and the thing is, I never needed to do it because I've been in the industry for a very, very long time. I've been PPDM member for a very, very long time, right? So and this is a small industry, people know each other. So luckily for me, I didn't have to do it. Yeah.
That's networking.
Yeah. It's networking. When I got my job at IHS, it's like my second interview, the hiring manager said, oh, I already got recommendations. And it's like, I didn't even give you my list of people to talk to. Who did you get the recommendations from? And it turned out to be that the person who needed help at IHS, they looked for help, was my tech support when I was at CNOOC. So he knew me and I knew him. And it's like, it's a small world. Yeah. And once you get in, it's way easier. Yeah, first job is tough to get at any age, anywhere, especially when you're changing careers. It's tough. Yeah. But once you're in, and it's easier to move within the company, right? If you're already, let's say, a Chevron or any big, but like whatever, Synovus in Canada, just different name now, right? But if you are in the company already, it's way easier to move across, to change departments, right? To talk to people within the company. And I highly recommend to do it. And as in terms of education, yes, you have to be educated. Yes, you have to learn. But like I have example from my personal career. My teammate from CNOOC, who I worked with like for 15 years, was the smartest, the most intelligent person I knew. She knew everything. She does not have any education. She got into oil and gas when she was like 17 or 18, right after the school. and she just learned on the job everything. Wealth of knowledge. It's just, again, the attitude and aptitude willingness to do it.
Yeah, I think one important thing you've both touched on is the networking feature. And like getting out there and meeting people like physically is really important. So I'm just going to stress for everyone who's in the room, if you can attend the 5-day course that we're going to be operating in August and September, if you can attend them in person, that is going to be really strong, because even the people that are in the class with you or will help you eventually one day down the line, and you may never know in what way or what capacity. So I think that's a big one, is meeting people in real life and starting and understanding what you want so that you can translate that into not necessarily asks, but passions that you can both collaborate on together. And so it's not about going out to someone and saying, do you have a job for me? It's going and finding the same passion that you both share, and then that will lead to organically kind of like building out that network, and then ultimately having the same experiences that Nataly had in the background, where the IT person was like, oh, I know her, she's great. So I think that's really important to stress as well. So do we have any questions from the audience today? We had that great question from Jude. Any others? Let them get in there. So I would also say, just from a networking perspective, it's always really good to follow up with people, remind them that you've had the conversation, say thank you, and you never know when you can network with someone. So if you're on the soccer field watching your child play football, or you're meeting someone at daycare, or you're waiting in the waiting room somewhere, it doesn't hurt to say hello to someone, or even just the elevator in your building. You know, there's a lot of people I run into in my apartment building that I know work at big companies like Shell and Synovus that I see pretty regularly, and I've met them outside of work, and now they live in my building, and I have that relationship with them now. So that's really important.
I think we also have to understand that people in this field, a lot of us are introverts.
Yeah.
Oh. A lot of us are introverts. Like this job will be hard for anyone who loves being with people, extrovert, because we spend a lot of time in front of computers. But I do know that it's not good or bad. It's just fact that who you know matters, and you cannot know them. Even if you add them on LinkedIn profile or anything else, it doesn't mean that you know them. You actually need to go out of your way and connect to people. And this is horrible to say it for people who don't want to hang out with people, but this is the reality of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know for me, I can be fairly introverted some days. And so at the beginning of the Unlocking Data Careers, we had to do research, and we interviewed people who are hiring managers and other HR professionals from different industries across Alberta. And so I had to cold call and cold email people and make these cold connections just by sending meaningful LinkedIn connection notes, but then immediately following up with, can we meet for a virtual coffee? Can we meet for a physical coffee? And then having to build those conversations. And kind of, at least I was fortunate because I went in with a list of questions that I needed to ask them for my research. But it was still just, if you're going to do a cold email, a cold LinkedIn connection request, it's important to follow up with it and get to know them and have those coffees with them. Okay, so we have a question from Raymond Tong. They have said, for someone with a strong technical background, but not in data specifically and low domain knowledge, do you have any specific suggestions?
When you say strong technical background, I would assume you mean some sort of languages that carry you through. Am I right, Raymond?
You won't be able to respond verbally, but you can type it. Yeah.
I can type it.
Yeah. A developer.
Oh, okay, so you're a developer. I honestly, if you have a strong technical background, if I would be hiring, I would look past that operational knowledge. If you have strong enough technical background to carry me through to the task I have. But that's me. I'm gonna see what Nataly has to say.
I would say, because I did have experience with IT people coming on site and mapping steps to very incorrect values because they assume that any type of depth they see in the database is the same, right? TD, TVD, whatever, they assume it's the same. So I would say you do have to have basic knowledge. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be a completion engineer. You don't have to be a geologist or geophysicist. But you have to at least pick up a basic book on petroleum geology or whatever and understand the drilling process, right? Like to get really, really basic knowledge, it will get you there because you will speak the correct jargon. You can list it on your resume. You can talk it on your interview. That will make you difference.
Yeah. And those are the specific things we're working towards with the Unlocking Data Careers is the 5-day course, so that you can learn about all these different skills and then learn the language that you're able to apply it to your previous backgrounds, and then also be able to go into interviews with a really strong base level understanding. So yeah, thank you for that. So I think that's all we have for questions today. You're welcome, Raymond. Oh, we have another one here. Are there any additional competencies that you would recommend to get your foot in the door, for example, project management or leadership?
It really depends on the position that you
Yes.
right? If it's basic data, if it's data management, just doing the base work in front of your computer, then obviously leadership skills, it's nice to have, but I don't think it will make you like in there. Everything depends on job description, right? What type of position you're in. These are valuable skills, but you have to match them.
Yeah, I would agree with Nataly on this. It depends on what you're applying for. If you're applying to be data analyst or data engineers, a project manager doesn't really matter if you're gonna do that type of job. I'm gonna say CDMP, but just because I just finished it, I feel very proud. It's the third time talking about it. It's a joke, but yeah, you need to understand where you want to go before you take any sort of certification. Otherwise, it's gonna be waste your time and money if that's not something you ended up going with long term.
Yeah. So I would say if you're already in a position where you see the next step is going to be project management based or more project based,
Yes.
and leading a team from that regard, then I would say definitely do it. But I think for people who are looking to get their foot in the door, it's important to have that strong foundation. And then once you're inside the room, then you can figure out what the next step will be. I mean, it harkens back to the same thing you said, Larisa, where it's like lifelong learning and always having to upskill and to keep things going. Because you know, I would hope that we're all very ambitious people and we want to continue to grow. And so that's part of it. So, well, okay, no, great. So thanks everyone for joining us today. We're going to close it a bit early. But if you have any questions or follow-ups, just send us an email at Larisa, what's the name
There
of your...
you go. I have one person interested. Sorry, I'm gonna say CDMP. That's the name of it. I just typed it in. But ultimately, it's data management certification for. If you go to Dama groups, I'm like, I wish Trudy can talk right now. She tells more about this group than I can.
She's here, yeah.
Well, maybe I should pass it to Trudy. Trudy, maybe I should put you on the spot.
There we go. Hey. I'm glad to hear this. I think it's been a great conversation. There are certifications available for skills in data. It's great to have a starting in technical skills. That's a wonderful background, but you also need to understand how data behaves and what data is. And that's really the focus of the classes that we'll be doing, that Blaine's been talking about, to learn the fundamentals of data, data governance, data management, data analytics, all of those things. There are many roles in the data space, and there's probably a role for everybody. If you're really spatially oriented, you can get roles in spatial data. So I think the CDMP is a DEMA certification and it's industry neutral. The CPDA certification, which has sadly very similar letters attached to it, is data management for petroleum, oil, and gas. But really taking some training classes and building up your skills and understanding how the data world is changing as technology changes is really, really important.
Well, thank you for those closing out words, Trudy. And I think we're going to call it a day there. So thank you everyone for joining and for coming for our great conversation about data management and more broadly about how to get into data management. So thanks to everyone for joining. If you have any questions or if you have any follow-up that you'd like to send, you can reach me at udc@ppdm.org, and I put that in the chat for you. And of course, I'll be emailing everyone with more information on how to get registered with the 5-day course. Talk a little bit about the next steps will be after the 5-day course. Trudy, did you want to drill down on that for everyone? What are the next steps after the 5-day course?
So our objective in these 5-day classes is to help to introduce you to some of the fundamental concepts about data, how data sits into the business ecosystem and the technology ecosystem, and how all of that is changing, obviously. There will be some exams. You'll get a micro certification at the end of those classes if you take all the exams and you participate in all of the classes, of course. And our hope is that that will help to get you a foot in the door when it comes to looking for jobs. When you're looking for a job, especially in technology-rich places like Alberta, many jobs, even if they are not centrally a data job, require a lot of data competencies. So these data competencies will help position you for work in very many jobs that you might be applying for. But you need to be thinking about how you're going to apply for your job, how you're going to work at getting a job, and that's a whole skill set on its own.
No. All right. Well, that was the best sales pitch for the 5-day course we've given. So thank you, Trudy. And thank you, Larisa, and thank you, Natalie, for joining us today as our speakers. And thank you to everyone who's joined us as well. So have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.